So I made a statement in my trailer reaction video for Honey Boy. I accused Shia LaBeouf of being an egomaniac. I just watched Honey Boy, and I am sorry. I'm completely wrong. Let's talk about it. What's up, guys, and welcome to Movie Importance movie review of Honey Boy, the newest film from director Alma Har'el, and it stars Shia LaBeouf, Lucas Hedges, Noah Jupe, Laura San Giacomo, FKA Twigs, Clifton Collins Jr., Martin Starr, and Brian Bowers. So, watching a movie like Honey Boy, it's a very hard thing to talk about because when you're dealing with movies like this, for instance, when you're dealing with stuff like Angela's Ashes or The Florida Project or Beasts of the Southern Wild, you're dealing with movies that are dealing with kids who come from places that are very sad and depressing, but kind of hopeful near the end. And that's what this movie does. It's a story about a kid named Otis who's played by Noah Jupe. He's a child actor and he's being raised by his father who has had PTSD, who's been in a war, alcoholism problems, drug abuse, but he's been sober for 4 years. But because he's so abrasive and borderline abusive, he treats his son almost like a product. But he loves his son, so he gets, he's there for him. But when you watch it play out, you realize when Otis becomes an older adult, who's played by Lucas Hedges, you can see why the adult Otis character has the same issues as his father. He has PTSD, he has alcoholism problems, and he has run-ins with the law like his father did. And it becomes a story about how fathers and families treat their kids and how their kids react to it and eventually grow up as adults. So if you raise your kid right and you raise them as best you can, most of the time they will become good and so on and so forth. What makes this movie even more kind of fourth dimensional and kind of it twists and turns the way it does is it's in essence, as far as what Shia LaBeouf says, based on his life. And if this movie is half as true to what he says, then man, you really do got to feel sorry for Shia LaBeouf. He's a kid that grew up doing Even Stevens, then Holes, and then of course Transformers, and then he's starting to deal with the Hollywood effect. And because the way he was raised, apparently according to him, with abusive father who was in the war, who couldn't handle him, who verbally abused him, and then he has a mom who really couldn't handle him either. You start to see the patterns of why Shia LaBeouf wrote this movie, because it's like, in essence, there's a portion of this movie where Laura San Giacomo basically tells Lucas Hedges' Otis character to write out what his dad did to him as a cathartic moment. And that's exactly what Shia LaBeouf is doing here, is he's writing out basically what happened to him to get off his chest, to really show the emotional impact of what his childhood was like, why he did the things he did, and why it was an easier thing for him to kind of express and get out into the open how difficult it is to grow up in Hollywood and deal with parents of Hollywood parents and so on and so forth. And this movie could be extremely downtrodden. It could be extremely depressing, which it is depressing and downtrodden, but it has a similar lining of hope, and the characters are really well written. When you're writing a true to life story, you're really putting out all your emotions. You really have a sense of these characters, so the storyline's always going to be much better than it should be. But on top of that, because of all the issues, this movie it's fantastic. It's the characters of Noah Jupe and Shia LaBeouf and of course Lucas Hedges, all those actors are all fantastic, and you really feel the emotional pain that Shia LaBeouf is going through in this movie as the father, and Noah Jupe, who is trying to deal with the situation at hand with his father and the friend he makes in the trailer park or the motel or whatever. But it's such an emotionally raw movie, and it's well directed. It's shot very well. The music's fantastic, but it's a movie that is very hard to watch because when you watch something like this and you see the pain and the angst and the sadness that is going on in this movie, it makes you realize that sometimes your life is not that bad, and it really is just a very, very cathartic thing to see. You could write your life story and you could put it on there in the open, but I guarantee you that most of the time your story will not be as hard as what Shia LaBeouf has gone through. And I accused him of being egotistical when he was writing this movie because he's putting himself in as the dad, But when you get down to the nuts and bolts of this movie and how it's being played out, how it's being used, and how it's trying to be cathartic, it really is not an egotistical movie. It's a movie about a guy trying to come to terms with his demons and trying to basically forgive his father, and that kind of makes it a just movie in a way. And it's the best thing I've seen Shia LaBeouf ever do. I mean, there's no other movie that's like it that even comes close to showing the raw side of who Shia LaBeouf is. And because of all the things that he has done in his life, you know, between the problems with the law, putting the bag over his head, watching himself in the theater, this movie just shows that maybe there's more to it than what he was ever willing to express. And maybe this is what he needed to get himself to the next level, to the next step. Because if the acting range shows what he is doing in this movie, it is something else. It makes him a much better actor than I ever thought he was. But man, the way it's portrayed with his father in this movie, the way he acts it, nobody should ever have to go through that. Nobody should ever have to deal with a parent like that, because it becomes an emotional scar, and it just becomes brutal. And it's just, I don't know, I found this movie just like enlightening in a lot of ways that I never thought possible. And I give it a lot of credit to Shia LaBeouf for just putting it out there, just letting everybody see that maybe sometimes it's not what you think it is. And you know, so but that's it. That's my take on Honey Boy. It's a very emotional movie. The one thing I will say is it's going to be hard to go back and watch this movie because of the subject matter and what it's dealing with. When it deals with kids in like low scenarios like that, you can watch it, but sometimes you don't want to go back and watch it because it's just very difficult to deal with. And that doesn't mean I don't recommend you guys not watching it, because I absolutely do. I'm just saying, like, you'll probably feel the same way because it's just a very raw movie. So, but thank you so much for watching. That'll do it. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button at the top to find out what's coming next, and of course, comment below on any video that you watch on my channel. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out. What's up, guys? Thank you so much for checking out Movie Emporium. I really appreciate it. If you want to, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification button and the bell at the top. Find out what's coming next for Movie Emporium. Also, check out these 2 videos. They're amazing. I think they're awesome. I think you'll enjoy them too. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.